In 1903, workers digging a ditch in Somerset pulled a 10,000-year-old skeleton from the dirt. Nobody knew his true face. Then came 2018. Scientists finally sequenced his DNA, and the results completely broke the field of anthropology. Britain's oldest known resident, Cheddar Man, had piercing blue eyes and incredibly dark skin. The first Britons looked absolutely nothing like today's locals. This brings up a massive, wildly complicated question about human evolution. How did human skin go from a universal dark default? How did we get the massive spectrum of colors we see right now? And why did this massive biological shift even happen? Forget race and geography for a second. This whole story actually starts with a single tiny molecule. We call it melanin. It's a pigment pumped out by specialized cells deep in your skin. Think of it as billions of microscopic umbrellas opening up. They block ultraviolet radiation from shredding your DNA. More umbrellas means darker skin and much better armor against the brutal sun. Most mammals just use fur for this exact job. Fur is an incredible physical shield. Because of that, the skin underneath is shockingly pale. The fur does all the heavy lifting for the body, so the skin doesn't have to work hard. But humans eventually lost our fur. And it wasn't a random biological accident. About 2 million years ago, our ancestors figured out a brutal new way to hunt animals. We didn't outrun prey during persistence hunting. We just outlasted them. We ran them into the ground under the blistering African sun. Try running a full marathon in a heavy winter coat. You'll literally cook from the inside out. Thick fur was a guaranteed death trap. Hominins with thinner fur sweat better. They ran much longer and brought home the bacon. The hairy ones overheated and quickly died out. Suddenly, bare human skin is taking the full force of the sun. Without thick fur, melanin was literally our only natural defense left. Natural selection slammed its foot on the gas. Skin got incredibly dark and pitch black. By the time modern humans showed up, everyone changed. Around 300,000 years ago, every single one of us had dark skin. Dark skin wasn't some random genetic variation. It was the absolute baseline of humanity. It was our default biological setting. But here is exactly where the plot completely twists. Melanin has a crucial side hustle. This is the very thing that would rewrite human history. UV radiation isn't just a DNA-destroying villain. When it hits your bare skin, it triggers a chemical reaction. This makes vitamin D. This isn't just a regular daily vitamin. It's a crucial hormone. It builds your bones and runs your immune system. It keeps your entire reproductive system working flawlessly every day. Back in equatorial Africa, this was a total non-issue. The sun is super intense. Even heavily armored dark skin absorbs enough UV rays. You make plenty of vitamin D. Then, roughly 60,000 years ago, things shifted. Climate changed, and green corridors suddenly opened up. Some of those dark-skinned humans walked north, and they walked right into a massive physics problem. Way up north, the sun sits low. The rays punch through miles of thick atmosphere. This filters out almost all the UVB you need. Add a 6-month winter into the mix. Vitamin D production basically flatlines. Let's do the math here. African dark skin is built to block 90% of extreme UV rays. Up in Northern Europe, total UV is weak. It might only be 10% of Africa. That dark skin blocks way too much. It lets maybe 1% of the original UV through. That is nowhere near enough. The human body instantly panics under these conditions. Without UV, vitamin D plummets. Calcium stops absorbing entirely. Kids look completely fine on the outside because they eat and play normally. Their skeletons aren't hardening inside their bodies. They are literally staying soft. A simple nutrient deficiency turned into a ruthless evolutionary filter. Think about trying to survive childbirth. Your own pelvic bones are fundamentally warped by the environment. Women with severe deficiency didn't make it. Their dark-skinned genes died with them. But a woman with slightly lighter skin, she absorbed just enough weak sunlight to survive the ordeal. She made the absolute bare minimum vitamin D. She barely made it, but she lived. She passed those lighter skin genes down the line. A brutal filter ran generation after generation, but the math still doesn't add up. Dark skin should have vanished from Europe very quickly. Yet 10,000 years ago, Europeans were still dark. After 35,000 years of pressure, skin color barely budged. How did they survive? Stay with me here. These hunter-gatherers were eating fatty fish and animal livers. These foods are absolutely loaded with natural vitamin D. They were literally eating their way out of the problem. As long as they ate that diet, their melanin didn't need to drop. They had a massive biological safety net. And then we invented farming. About 10,000 years ago, agriculture sweeps right into Europe. That dietary safety net gets burned to the ground. Almost overnight, early farmers stopped eating salmon. They started surviving on plain grain mush. And it wasn't because they hated fish. It was just math. Farming is a full-time back-breaking trap where you're completely tied down. You don't have time to wander off to hunt deer. The human diet became all grain, all the time, and grain has zero vitamin D. Suddenly, that ancient safety net is gone forever. The only place left to get vitamin D is the sun. That northern sun is extremely weak. The evolutionary filter clamped down incredibly hard. The women with slightly lighter skin survived. The others simply didn't make it through childbirth. Generation by generation, human skin got lighter. It wasn't by choice. It was pure, desperate survival. But the process was way too slow. Evolution desperately needed a massive biological catalyst. Boom, it finally happens. A random copying error happened deep inside one single cell. It was one single typo out of 3 billion letters in our DNA. This tiny glitch slashed melanin production by up to 40%. Someone in Southern Europe was born way lighter than everyone else. They absolutely thrived. Within a blink of evolutionary time, things completely changed. That single genetic typo swept through the farming populations of Europe. You either had it and lived, or you completely faded out of existence. But here is the absolute wildest part of this entire story. That exact mutation, the one that turned Europe completely pale, is missing in Asia. It's almost completely absent in East Asian populations. Yet, people in northern East Asia also have very light skin. How did they actually do it? They did it using totally different mutations and different genes. They used different biological pathways, but they got exactly the same biological result. Biologists call this amazing process convergent evolution. It's the universe's way of sending a message. Same problem, different math, exactly the same answer. Pale skin isn't some singular miracle of human history. It's just a biological workaround. It's a survival tool, independently invented by the human body twice. It was triggered by weak sunlight and a sudden shift to grain. We desperately needed a single vitamin. Next time you look at your hands, you're looking at a survival journal written over thousands of years. If you want to keep reading that journal with me, hit subscribe.